Okay, this is my late 2024 reading wrap up. I read 100 books this year. Yeah, let's get into it. I have my Goodreads right here to make sure I go in order and get all of them. And a lot of them, I don't have the physical book. Either I read it on Kindle or I've let friends borrow it. The very first book of 2024 was Morning Star by Pierce Brown. It is in the Red Rising trilogy, and then there were 2 more books after this, and this was a 5 out of 5 stars. Highly recommend at least the first trilogy. The next 2 books, I didn't read the last book. The second book I did read, and it was good. It just is, I think it's like 30 years later after this book, and so you get a lot of new characters, and then you start having multiple point of views, and so it can be a bit much, but yes, amazing. And then I'm not gonna go too deep into this next one. I've already done a couple videos on it, so that is why. All of Sarah J Maas's books. Yeah. I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, because I don't have one of them. 13 books. And it's A Court of Thorn and Roses, so the ACOTAR series, Throne of Glass series, and then Crescent City series. I read all those in anticipation for Crescent City 3. Big disappointment, whatever. We move on. I love those books, they're amazing. Don't need to talk about them too much. And then these 2 books, Redeeming 6 and Saving 6. These books will literally just keep ripping your heart out over and over and shred it to bits, but truly so good. I love these books. I can't get enough. Joey Lynch, he deserves the world. Right here, I already read this a few years ago, and this one came out, and so I reread them. It is super cheesy writing. Like, it is a YA for a reason, and not the most mature writing. I still cried my eyes out like a baby. Like, I could not. This one I think was worse than this one. I'm gonna cry about it thinking about it right now. Like, it's just so sad, and there's like no changing it. Ugh, it's so annoying. Whatever, I'm over it. Okay, now these were like my most, not my most, but one of my highly anticipated reads. So excited to read them. I've never been more disappointed in my life because of all the hype. One Dark Window and 2 Twisted Crowns. I'm sorry, everyone is raving about these. Like, loved them. I still read both of them. I thought it was gonna get better. It didn't. I remember I was like super confused the whole time because the relationship in it was just like, I remember it kind of being like out of nowhere. And I just was so confused the whole time. Like, why and when? I rated this a 3-star. My review was, I'm so sad because I thought I was going to love it, but I've been waiting to read this duology for months, but I just didn't get super into it or attached to the characters. It was good, don't get me wrong, it just didn't pull my emotions. So there you have it. Oh, and then I listened to the audiobook, Britney Spears' The Woman in Me. I don't really rate memoirs, but it was good. It was cool to find out about her life. I would recommend it. So then my friend wanted me to read Stardust, and I did not like it. I think I rated it 3 stars. It was so weird to me. Like, I was so confused the entire time, and I was just like it kind of started to make sense, but I was still like, what the heck? Did not care for it. Then I read Janet McCurdy's I'm Glad My Mom Died. That memoir, I really liked it. It was super, super good. Then I read Iron Gold by Pierce Brown, and this is the book that I was telling you guys that I finally worked up the courage after I finished the trilogy of Red Rising to go back and read, and I rated it a 4 stars. Still really good. It was just a bit hard because they introduced a lot of new characters, and then you would have POVs in those new characters. I said that right. You would have these new characters' point of view, and it would be confusing because you didn't yet know who they were. Still recommend. Okay, and then I don't have this book. I don't know why I don't have it. I guess it was on Kindle for like super cheap. And our bookstore, okay, let me explain something. I live in Belgium, and our bookstores don't get the books till like a week or 2 after the release date in the US. And so like if I want to read it ASAP, I get it on my Kindle. So that is what I did with Taming 7. Again, bawled my eyes out. I love Chloe Walsh. She's so good, so good. I will be reading every single one of her books. I am dying for another book to come out. I don't know when it will. I'm confused. Everyone keeps saying a new book is coming out, so I don't know. Okay, and then I read the best books in the entire world. Like, literally the entire world. The Magnolia Parks universe. First off, we're gonna take a moment for these covers. I got the original covers because I was so in love with them. Book 1, Magnolia Parks. Let's see what I rated each individual one. I rated this a 4 out of 5 stars. Toxic relationship to the core, like to the absolute most. I cannot. It ended so sad. I was bawling my eyes out. It's like a fun like reality TV. That's kind of what I think of it, or like Gossip Girl, but in London. Super entertaining. It's like, when is this gonna be over? Because you just can't handle it, but at the same time you can't stop reading. So good. And Tortured Poets Department album came out when I read this, and so this whole series I associate with that album, and it's just too perfect. Ugh. And then you have the Daisy Haites. So there's, in this universe, you have Magnolia Parks, and then you have the Daisy Haites books. I like Daisy Haites more. I love these books. It basically goes over a lot of the same stuff as in this book. So you have like a lot of repeat stuff, but from different points of views, and there's also a lot of different things happening with this family. 5 stars. It's the long way home. This I rated a 4. No, I rated it a 5 stars. Again, so good. Love it. This, I forgot, oh my gosh, this ending is like, I bawled my eyes out. I could not. Which then you get to repeat it all in this book, because this is the next Daisy Haites book, and this one is even worse because you already know what's going to happen in that book, and then you just see it from another point of view, and you didn't realize that this point of view is going to be 10 times worse. I need the next Daisy Haites book so bad. This is what we were left with, like this. And then you have Into the Dark. This thing is heavy. I mean, both like literally and metaphorically. But all of them except for the first one I rated 5 stars. I still need to know what happens. This covers some, but not all. And I have no idea when she's going to be releasing the next ones. Like, 0 clue. Okay, which then brings us to my romance rating of the year. I got in a super big reading slump after this giant book, and I didn't read. This is like my first reading slump. I didn't read for like 2 months. And then I was at the beach. I remember I literally like was in such a big reading slump whenever I went to California, and my friend Haley was like, oh, you should read The Bodyguard. Like, that will be so easy. It will get you out of your reading slump. Just do it. Like, it's literally so small. It's so quick and easy. Like, you're gonna love it. I did love it, and it did get me out because it is such a quick read. It is like a standalone. There's no commitment. I rated it a 4 stars. I don't think I can ever rate like these types of like lovey-dove rom-coms a 5 star because there's just not enough depth, and they're not like unique enough. But 4 stars is the best you're gonna get. And then I continued to read so many of those books. So then I read it on my Kindle, I think, just last night, and I rated that a 3 star. And then I read Hello Stranger by Catherine Center, and then I read The 7-Year Slip, which I remember loving. I rated this a 5 stars. Okay guys, here's my Goodreads reading review. I said, okay, I'm not a romance girly, but lately I have been, but especially this book. Usually they are fun reads and are all very similar, but something to just read quick and easy and to get wrapped up into. But this book was so unique and so fun. I was reading it while traveling and could not stop giggling and kicking my feet and laughing. Seriously, so good. I was so excited to just keep reading every chapter. Read it. That is my first 5-star reading for cheesy romance. Okay, then I read Better Than the Movies, and I rated this a 4 star, and it was really good. Then I read The Dead Romantics. This was a 3 star. I was really excited for it because it's the same girl as The 7-Year Slip, and I was a bit disappointed. I should have read this one first. And then, oh gosh, where is this? Took a break from fiction and decided to read a finance book. This book, actually, my husband's mom and dad wanted us to read this. We went on a cruise, and then they really liked this book, and then they wanted to discuss it on the cruise. So we had an assignment to read this, so I did, and I don't know what I rated it. Yeah, 3 stars. Not my cup of tea, but it was good. It was good for a finance book. I went on to read, I already read Powerless, but I think I did a reread in anticipation for Reckless. And Powerless I gave a 4 star, and Reckless I gave a 5 star. I'm very easily entertained. I know a lot of people didn't like this for certain reasons. My review was okay, probably more like a 4 star, but I don't care. I love this book so much. The plot in this was a lot less, so I understand the critiques people have, but for real, I just love this story so much. The characters, I cannot need the next book now. Like, sorry, what was that ending? Desperately need someone to talk to about it, or better yet, therapy. Read at your own risk, I guess. So then I read this book. It's called The Body Keeps a Score, but I just listened to the audiobook, but it was so good. Like, I loved it. It was a 5 stars for me. I love psychology, so I recommend. And then I read this, I think for the 2nd time, The Crown of Nyxia, The Serpent and the Wings of the Night. This, and then The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. I rated both of them a 4 star, if I remember correctly, yeah. It is like the first book is like a Hunger Games mixed with something else, but she, let me tell you, she has become my favorite author, like one of my favorites. I trust everything she puts out now. And I reread that because I was going to go reread this, because the first time I read it, I didn't know that this existed. It was a novella in between, and everyone said that this is like their favorite novella, and I had no idea. So I went back and read it, and it was not my favorite. It was not that good. It was 3 stars. I read this book. I remember seeing this for so long on my, like literally on TikTok. I got on Book Talk like 5 years ago or something, and I've seen this since then, or like 6 years ago probably at this point. And I finally picked it up. It is criminally underrated, and that is the Prison Healer series. It is so good. 1, 2, and 3, it's a trilogy, and it's completed. Let me tell you, like the plot twist in this that I did not expect. It is YA. It's so good. Let's go see if I have reviews under all of these. 1 is the 5 stars, then The Gilded Cage, 5 stars, and this is my review. Shut up, shut up. I just finished this, and I genuinely had no idea what was going to happen and could have never predicted this. Truly one of the best fantasy books I've read in a long time. And then for The Blood Trader is also 5 stars. And I said, okay, I love, but literally just the last chapter disappointed me. It was good, but I felt like there should have been more. I wanted some conversations to happen in order for it to fully feel wrapped up. I do remember this now because the first 2 books were so good and the entire book was so good, but then it just was kind of like, literally like the last chapter. Whatever, still so good. I would still recommend because it is amazing. And I don't get, well, I do get shocked a lot, but I was like really, really shocked. My sister-in-law, she recommended this book to me. And so I got it and I read it, and that is hella beautiful. It is a mix. Whenever people ask me to describe this book, I describe it as a mix between Little Women and A Little Life. So that doesn't tell you. And that doesn't tell you what this is. It's like the story of these sisters, and they go through life, and then you get another point of view also, and it is just so sad, so heart-wrenching, and it's definitely like a slow-paced book. Like, it is not for the plot, it's more for the relationship aspect, in the same way Little Life is, like over the span of what, like 40 years or something. Same thing with this. You meet them when they're young or in high school, and then it goes through like their entire life, and it is just so sad, so bittersweet. And I rated it a 5 star. Okay, and then we get to my Chloe Walsh, that whole thing. So I read her The Carter Kids series, which consists of these names. I can't, I'm so embarrassed. Okay, Treacherous, and then Thorn, and then Tame, and then Torment, and then Inevitable, Altered. Okay, let's go through. Wait, the first one was a 3 star. So was the second one. So was the 4th one. So I assume also the 3rd one. 1, 2, 3, and 4 were all 3 stars. And then the 5th one was a 4 star. And then the 6th one was also a 4 star. So they got better. Not her best series, but I will say still was like, especially the last 2. Like the last 2 in that relationship I was beyond shocked. Let's just say that, like beyond shocked. And then I read The Boy Who Was Raised as a Dog. I finished this with Ethan. Him and I were reading it together, and it is so good, so heart-wrenching. But it's basically this child psychiatrist who wrote a lot of like his main stories. This was written back when they didn't think kids could have trauma, so this is him like kind of disproving that and just sharing some of like the hardest or like the biggest stories that he's like dealt with that really like stood out with him. So it's a really, really, really hard read, but also I really recommend just to everyone I love. And then I read Unoffendable, which is a Christian book, but it basically talks about how to be unoffendable, because when you get offended at everything, which I literally just had a conversation with Ethan about, when you get offended about everything, you're just constantly like hurt and offended. Like you're just so moody all the time. And so like even like it's this idea of like we live in like a dog-eat-dog world. I have to take revenge for myself, or like I have to look out for myself because no one else is going to, but really how there's a different way to live, and you'll actually be a lot happier. And genuinely, like when I do implement this, even though it's hard because I'm so trained to like, if Ethan does something that annoys me or like is rude, I'm like, but you know, like I get mad at him and I'm like offended and I'm mad the whole entire day, rather than just, I know he didn't do it with like malice in his heart, I'm gonna let it pass, you know, like, and I'll still talk to him. That doesn't mean just like I can be like, hey, I didn't like appreciate when you did this, but rather than, and there's still communication rather than just being like pissed off the entire day. So I recommend, and it is so funny, like it is genuinely, I laughed out loud. He's like self-deprecating humor kind of thing, which I love. And then we go back to fantasy because of course I'm a fantasy reader. And I read this on, I think it's on Kindle Unlimited, so that's what I read it on. It's called the Witch Walker series, and the first one is the Witch Collector. This is the end bag. I rated 3 stars. The second one I rated a 4-star, which is City of Ruin. And then The Wolf and the Witch is number 3, but it's a novella, which I did not know at the time, so I was very disappointed. And I think the next one should be coming out somewhat soon, I hope. And I forgot a bit earlier, I went and reread Binding 13 and Keeping 13. Of course, always a 5-star. 5-star in my book. 6-star actually. Okay, and then I read The Inheritance Games. I've seen these everywhere. I've never read them. Didn't really care to, but I loved it. It was so fast-paced. The first one was really good. I rated it a 4-star. And then the second one, The Hawthorne Legacy, I rated it a 3-star. That was my least favorite one. And then the last one, I rated a 4-star as well. I remember a lot of people getting annoyed because it's basically like the same thing, like they drag it out. I loved it. The third one pissed me off, but I also loved it, and I feel like it wrapped up perfectly. I have mixed emotions, you know? There's the brothers, and so you are maybe team X or X, and I don't know, I go back and forth all the time. I love them both. I hate the grandfather. Like, he's so stupid. Ugh. And then I went on to read some more of her books because of how much I just really liked her books. I didn't read, there's another one in this series, and it's called The Brothers Hawthorne. I didn't read that. I didn't feel like it was necessary. It kind of goes on to the conclusion after all this. Okay, and then I read Book Lovers, which was so good. I've never been an Emily Henry fan. This book changed my mind. This was a 4 stars. And then I read, oh, I didn't grab it, it's upstairs. You guys know it, it's a funny story. And I rated it also a 4-star. And I loved it. I laughed out loud. It was so good. I think it's my favorite one of her books. Amazing. Definitely recommend. You guys probably have already read it because I'm just so late to the game, but if you haven't, I definitely recommend. Okay, and then we get into one of my favorite series, I think, of the year, and that is the Red Queen series. The first book I read a long time ago because this has been talked about for years and years and years, and I read it specifically because everyone kept comparing it to Powerless. Everyone's like, Powerless is literally just a copy of this, and I read this and I was like, what? No. I can see like certain aspects, but at the same time, at least when you read the whole series, it is so entirely different and has such a more complex plot, so much going on that I don't think they even compare. But no, not for the most part. This, yeah, anyway, I hated this the first time I read it. Read it the second time. Everyone says that this was like the biggest plot twist ever. I think I got it spoiled for me, and so that's why I didn't really like it, because I wasn't like really like dragged into it. So that was like a 3 stars for me. The next one for me was a 4-star. I really liked this one. This one was so good. They just keep getting like, this one was a 4-star as well. So for me, I kept wanting something to happen and it kept not happening. But I was also like, my emotions were getting pulled the entire time. Wait, this is not the one I meant to say. This is the one I meant to say. This is number 3. This was a 4-star. And then you have the last book, and this is Warstorm. This is also 4 stars. So I was emotionally unwell after this series. Once you go and read this, I did not care for all of the like in-between stories, but there's, I think, this much that I cared about. And when you read it, you already felt a certain way when the books ended. Just so like, this is not what I wanted to happen. So pissed off. Like, I get it, but at the same time, no, like, you don't want to accept it. And you go and read this, and it makes it just 10 times worse. Literally just 10 times worse. She's like, I'm just gonna, like, what little happiness you maybe had left after that, no, I'm gonna take it away. So yeah, this book series made me mad. I loved it, but I hate it. But I also recommend it. It is really, really, really phenomenal writing. I love it. Then I read the highly anticipated The Book of Azrael. It's the Gods and Monsters series, and there's only 2 of them out, I believe. No, there's 3 of them out. I think I rated them all 5 stars. So good. I was wrapped up the entire time. The second one was actually a 4-star, I lie. And the first one was also a 5-star. So good. Like, I just need to know what happens. I forgot what happens in the very last book, so I'm gonna have to do a reread before they come out. But I feel like I've read so many books that once I know the overall story, like, I can tell you the first one, I just can't tell you how it ends. Maybe I could. Oh, I definitely could, actually. Oh my gosh, I can tell you how it ends. I need the next book. But then I read, literally so cute, The Natural series. It is also by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. So unique. I think this is like one of her earlier series, maybe her first one. This one's super small, so I thought all of them were kind of like it, but I read the rest on my Kindle. So good. I wish, they are definitely YA, and you can tell with the writing, with the relationships, and with the age that the kids are. Such a cool concept though, and I like wanted to give it a 5 stars so bad. I just couldn't because it felt too immature for me, but they were all 4 stars. Like, I was obsessed so quick. The thing thing I love about her is she does like the shortest chapters ever. So I'll be like reading, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna read one more chapter. The chapter is literally 2 pages. Okay, I'm just gonna read one more chapter. And then by the time you know it, I'm like done with the whole book. So then I read Death of a Bookseller. This was my only book that I like just saw at the bookstore and was like, I'm gonna grab it. Like I'm gonna be one of those people that just sees the book and reads it and has no prior recommendations. And after this book, I'm never doing that again. Literally so bad. I think I rated it 1 star. Yeah, literally 1 star. So this is your PSA to never do that. Then I read The Songbirds and the Heart of Stone, which is also in the Crown of Nyxia. It is the 3rd book and it's about new characters. So good. 5 stars. Like I said, she's becoming one of my new favorite authors. I can just trust everything she writes, and so I love it. And then I read A Touch of Darkness. I've heard so many things about this book. Like so many people loved it. So many people I'm like, I'm obsessed. It was such a quick read. Like it got me back into reading. Ew. It was so bad. I cannot believe so many people recommend this. I've seen this again for so long. I gave it a 2 stars. Like it was just so cheesy, so like I could predict everything. And like there's some that you can like predict it but you don't care because you're like, okay, whatever. And I was like, this was like the entire time. It was like instant love, but one of them just being like, no, I can't. Okay, fine. Okay, no, I can't. I'm like, no one's stopping you. Like, there is literally nothing in your way. Like, why are you being so dramatic? Could not. That pissed me off. And then I read The Beautiful Daughter of No Worlds. Guess who it's by? Carissa Broadbent. Like I said, favorite author. It's called The War of Lost Hearts. That's the series. And let me go through. 1 and 2 and 3 were all 5 stars for me. They were all amazing. Like, so good. The romance in it was so good. And everything about that book was just so good. And I was shocked. I had no idea where it was going. Then we have Don't Be in Love. And I think I just saw this on TikTok. I don't know if she's like a big author. It's your typical cheesy little romance. I think I read it in literally a few hours. It was cute. It wasn't anything special. It was a 3 star for me, but it's super cute. And then I read the Legacy series, and the first one is Reign of Shadow and Endings. I rated that 5 stars. Oh my gosh. Guys, I read it on my Kindle and I just like swiped over. It's literally 670 pages. I had no idea. Okay, this is what it looks like. So 1 was a 5 star, 2 was also a 5 star, and 3 was also a 5 star. What happened in this book? That happened. Oh my gosh. I actually can't. I'm gonna cry. Like, I'm not even being dramatic. The way the last book ended, I actually cannot, and I have no idea what's gonna happen. Like, I truly have no idea where it's gonna go and what's gonna happen and if everything's gonna be okay, because it does not seem like it. I'm so scared because I love all of the characters so much. Like, if any of them die, I'm not gonna be okay. Anyway, moving on. Then I read How to Be Your Own Best Friend. I do not recommend this at all. I did not read it. It was like one of my dad's favorite books. Literally, I just needed to get to my reading goal and it was like 50 pages, so I read it. It's not really good, like, at all. And it's kind of like really old. My dad read it and I think it was written before he was even alive. So like it has like really old, like, women need to stay at home, and like it's very controversial stuff, so definitely don't recommend. And then I listened to the audiobook The Night of the Crash. It was all over audiobooks. Apparently, like, there's literally only 122 ratings on Goodreads. So I had no idea that it was like so not popular. It's a like thriller mystery type thing, and it was like creepy, like really creepy. I think I rated it 3 stars. It was not that good. And then I read Before the Coffee Gets Cold, and it was so sweet and so sad, and it was a 4 stars, and I just wanted to literally cry. And all the stories were so sad, and I know that's life, but like, yeah, just overall sadness. And that, my friends, is my 2024 reading wrap up in 2025. This year my goal is also 100 books, and I actually have so many books. I got so many books for Christmas, and so I need to work on reading all of those, and then I need more recommendations. My goal though for this year is to broaden my horizons. I feel like I did a little bit better this year. Like, I read a lot more. I read 2 thrillers. Come on, that's huge. Or like mystery. And then I read some more, I read a lot of fantasy, but I also read not fantasy and some psychology books and things like that. So I want to keep doing that and reading more, I don't know, more stuff that's not just fantasy and romance. But yeah, I hope you guys were able to find some books maybe to put on your reading list, or at least I could convince you, if you've already seen these, The No If I said that they're good, they probably are, and that they're worth the read and worth the hype. Okay, bye guys, see you. I was gonna say see you next year, but it's already literally next year. Gonna go read. Bye!